Sarmad Sultan Khoosat is a Pakistani actor and director for film, TV, and theatre. He is also a producer and screenwriter. He rose to prominence during the late 1990s when he created the sitcom Shashlik, which ran for over 3 years on Pakistan television. Along with giving many hits as a TV film director such as Humsafar, Baaghi, and Manto, in October 2018 he delivered a 24-hour-long live act called No Time to Sleep, enacting the last 24 hours of a death-sentenced prisoner's life, a performance which earned him critical appreciation. His upcoming directorial film, Zindagi Tamasha, Circus of Life, will be released soon. It has been awarded the prestigious Kim Ji-Seok Award at the Busan International Film Festival. How are you? How are you feeling in these days?
Hello, so I don't know. I think just like everybody else, I think there are episodes of feeling okay with the whole scenario. One feels that one has adapted, or but then there are episodes of anxiety. Then there are days when you just feel totally unsure about how tomorrow is going to look like, and so I don't know, but I think the overarching feeling has still been positive. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there was some strange, I think, energy which all of us, I think, collectively shared with each other. I don't know how people dealt with it in a time when one was not connected like this, but just getting to talk to people, just seeing them like in some whatever digital form, at least like live, talking to them, seeing their stuff, and just being updated on how everybody is doing. So I think it was not as scary as God forbid it could have been, or I mean, it's still extremely tragic. I mean, the scale of the tragedy is huge, but the spirit wise, I do feel that somehow, I think, thanks to technology,
yes, thanks to technology,
it kind of made it a little bearable.
And do you have this fear of how it's going to be after all of this is over? How do you have any interaction with other people as actors, as performers? How do you do that? I mean, are you afraid that's going to change for us now?
So clearly, I think that's one area where I'd say I have sort of blocked it for now, because it has to change. I mean, the whole dynamic of not just our line of work, but so many other professions and lines of work will have to remodel things, if not say forever, but for now, or for I don't know, a few months or a couple of years. So that ways, I don't know, I stay away from all that kind of hypothesizing that how things will change drastically. But I do feel, yes, I mean, particularly in say in performing arts, I mean, it's so much about, I mean, as much as one would want to believe that it is done in a very corporate way now, but I still feel that the human bond is the essence of it, like, and I, for one, and we have worked together, I'm really hands-on. Like, I just don't know, I need to go, I need to touch people, I need to just I just feel that I need to give my energy to them and take their energy, and I don't know, like, I do not sit in a chair and direct, and as an actor also, like, one's just doing all sorts of scenes, or I don't know, like, even if it's not what you do on camera, but like, the overall energy will have to change. I don't know.
Just being able to meet each other and not being able to hug, for example.
Right. So I do fear that something's gonna change.
Sure.
But I do, again, optimistically speaking, I only hope that it's going to be temporary and it will go back to normal. Yes, as you said, I don't know, it should just go back to being able to hug people again.
Exactly. So, Sarmad, I feel like as a director, as a human being, as an actor, I often see you like to move a lot. Even in a lot of your work, there's always movement in one way or the other. You enjoy working with the human body in its, purest essence. So, what is movement to you? Where is it coming from? Were you like that since you were a child? You always liked to just like to express yourself physically? What is it to you, really?
Again, so I do remember being a very active child. Like, I think I was still, I am the last generation where we still managed to climb trees. I mean, living in, say, still like like an urban metropolis like Lahore, or like a big city where, the towns became congested. There were lesser spaces to go out. But I think I still grew up in a neighborhood where we had trees, where we had just street to play in. So that way I was very active. But then I also recall I loved that sense of my personal space also. Like I could really switch between, say, being completely sort of outdoorsy and doing all of that. And I think I come from again a generation where we played Pittu Golgaram and Chupan Chupai and Baraf Pani and those kind of things. But other than that, I could be very reclusive. I could really just put a tent around the dining table and make a little hut under it and just sit there throughout the afternoon. So that way, I don't know if I recall myself as a person who moved a lot, but I don't know. So there was both like the external movement, and then there was a lot going on
inside you.
But I do feel that there's a bit of I think there's a particular year in my life. So my mother had a stroke in '86. I was in grade 2. And I remember my mother being very agile, like active and hands-on, and so she worked on Radio Pakistan also. And then she was like one of those efficient human beings, right? And the stroke kind of left her bedridden and extremely restricted for the rest of her life. So I think anytime I feel restricted now, I think that's a memory, or that year I think really marked that kind of it left that impression that I knew that human body definitely loses a lot, or you are reduced, as like your existence does get reduced or affected if you can't move the way you want to move. So I think subconsciously and sometimes even consciously, I think not just personally, but in terms of expressing it through my work, I think that's how I look at human body. That I do get anxious when I see human bodies not moving,
being completely still.
Yeah, so I think it is. I mean, I would not want to kind of say.
One doesn't have to move on constantly.
Over dramatize, huh? No, I'm like the memory also. I'm not saying I'm not over dramatizing it. When you grow up with that kind of a situation around you, then you also develop, like a skill around it, or how your coping mechanism. So not that it's a big scar, but now I think in retrospect, I do feel that a part of me always wished that my mother was able to move more, right? And her being a very agile, active person, and then from that to not being able to move. So I think that is, again, I don't know, if one were to self-analyze, that's how I feel.
How do you connect your emotions to your body? I mean, sometimes we feel rage, or we feel these sort of emotions, and I think physically a lot of us can be very physical with our body and expressing those emotions. How do you deal with that, or how do you deal with also as a performer? So as a human being, it's one thing, of course, perhaps you're more expressive there in certain situations, but as a performer, you really you don't worry how your body might look like. You don't have that sense of shame that especially like our society tends to have sometimes with the body. How do you feel about that?
So at a personal level, I feel that, again, as I said, I was not into a lot of sports, but I was very active and I was very expressive if I needed to be, my friends and people around me, they tell me that, I am quite animated in real life, like I do tend to use my hands a lot. I am shifty also, right? Like I'm not too steady in terms of, being, say, too composed. But as an actor, I think, or as someone who has worked on stage, TV, and now film, I think it has, if not evolved, it has changed for sure. I started with, situational comedy series. I mean, acting on TV and in sitcoms and things, and that went on for years. And there are a lot of stereotypes attached. I mean, the kind of roles that are written or what people want to see when they see comic characters. So, so I think there was this kind of exaggerated method to it, where you had to use a lot of, and I do remember, I think when I look back at my work now, I remember that, I used to use a lot of face, like, like actually like quite exaggerated, like not likable all the time, But then I think over the years, I know that, I became a little more conscious of my body on screen. And this did not happen, say, in the beginning of the career. I think when one is young, one doesn't care about these kind of things. But I think around 2000 or mid 2000, I mean, that decade, in both like Indian cinema here, I think the physicality, or just to say the shape and the proportions of the body, they become too kind of, and I was never that, that perfect weight and perfect body type. So I think that kind of, just having weight around my belly always make me conscious, So I think on talk shows, when I look at myself, I know that, my body language is uncomfortable. And only because, I don't know what camera, where, what angle, and it is usually like, it puts me in a slightly awkward, state. Having said that, when I'm acting, however, I feel really free. I feel very, very free, extremely free. And actually, I do not care then, if I believe in the character, or by belief, I mean that, if I have understood the character, spent enough time with the character, then it doesn't matter. And
because it's not you in that moment.
Yeah. So again, I don't know. I mean, it has been quite, what should be the word? That, there's been like a weird graph to it. Like there have been years when, I have felt very good about being an actor. But then also there were years when I would not act because I would just not feel good about it, or the kind of roles that are written usually for, say, somebody my age now, or somebody who looks like me. And I do remember, I think the last mainstream TV thing that I did, I became so conscious of my body weight while shooting that I went on this crazy diet. And my director actually, he pointed out, he was like, do you know that there are big continuity jumps? Like, because over a span of whatever months we were shooting this, my body weight went, say, from 80 something to 70 something. And he's like,
oh my God.
So I'm just saying, but I don't know if it's healthy or if it's the right thing to do. But what I'm trying to get at is that movement is one thing, but movement is associated with primarily, your body.
Your body,
definitely. So, body image, I don't know. I've had like all sorts of phases with, and no, I don't know if it is. I don't want to self-analyze too much, but if it was about the preset notions or the notions that have now become like the norms over the last years, when I'm not skinny, but when I'm not in my head, when I have lost the right amount of weight, I feel better about my body. But that's really strange because I didn't used to think like that earlier.
Yeah. No, I think it's perhaps, I think all of us have that somewhere or the other. And it's very hard to just enjoy it. If, for example, when I'm dancing, now I've started to understand, like, as a dancer, you're supposed to have the perfect body, you know? But you don't always have that, even if, because at the end of the day, we forget everyone has a different body type. And now, about belly fat, for example, I've been talking to that about that a lot with my female students, and I tell them, hey, I have it too. You know, I've been dancing all these years, and I used to think, I want to. That's what I want to get rid of. But yeah, it stays, and I don't know. Sometimes I even try to make them move with just embracing that flat, like, you know, feeling it.
I don't know. So I don't know. I think it's easier said than done for a lot of people, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, just being comfortable in your skin, just being
it's not easy.
confident about your body. As I said, it comes and goes. I mean, there are phases when I feel confident and I don't care about it, but it matters, you know. Like, and
absolutely.
Like for Manto, I mean, I know that a lot of people, and like people whose opinions or whose critique I really value, like the first thing they would tell me is, you didn't lose enough weight. I was like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like,
imagine that being the first thing.
And then really, like, sometimes I would be very defensive about it, and I would say, look, you know, there's a bone structure. I couldn't have gone beyond this, right? Like for Manto, for example, I remember I lost at least 12, 13 kilos.
Oh my God.
That's the amount of weight. And I lost that in 2 months only. And with the most unnatural, unhealthy sort of, you know, techniques. And it left me miserable, like health-wise. But, you know, so again, the physicality for some things is really important. As opposed to that, I did this performance for you know, this organization called Justice Project Pakistan. It was about capital punishment, and it was a 24 hours non-stop performance. And I thought, so I'm playing a prisoner, and prisoners are not fed well, and prisoners are, you know, and particularly when you know that you're going to be hanged, so you perhaps go into that kind of you know, your biological mode where you would not look healthy. But the research which the Justice Project people shared with me, they said that no, actually in the last few days, due to all the stress, the body starts retaining a lot of water. And usually they said that the stats say that most of the prisoners, they are swollen, like, because, you know, your body has just retained a lot of toxins, and then, you know, just a lot of water or whatever that. So, you know, like how I had been preparing for that role by, again, losing weight, and then suddenly I think I became so comfortable with it because, you know, once that stress was gone, I think I was able to discover the mind and the heart of the character with more ease. Because somehow, you know, so I don't know, I think it's strange how physicality is so important, but the notion of your body and the right body, it's really strange. I don't know.
But being a director, sometimes do you feel frustrated with actors who are very not very open with their bodies? Like, there's only very few things, and I'm not saying in terms of dance, but in terms of like being able to move in a more that way, but in a more human way also. Like, you think their body is just used to doing certain things, and they're unable to put it in other things. Do you feel frustrated as a director sometimes, or do you try to talk about this?
A lot of times.
Yeah.
I think that is a big problem with, particularly, say, the last couple of batches of actors that have come, right? And I think there are, again, I can also identify the problem areas. I mean, as you said, that as you know, wherever we are in terms of, you know, say, a point in human civilization. We have very reduced sort of, or very set body language. But particularly here, the way we have trained people in TV acting, it's mostly done in close-ups, right? I mean, not just say, not having awareness or understanding of your, 80% of your being also being used to emote, to express, or to kind of, to use it as a tool as an actor, right? But I think just thinking that most of the acting is about just expressing through your eyes and your face, because everything is shot in a close-up. So I think that is what I think people did not even realize that, that is what we were doing to the overall, say, style of acting, which eventually does become, say, the prevalent norm. And I think a lot of, not just new actors, as I said, the last couple of batches at least. And batch, I mean, a batch which comes every 5-7 years, So I think people do not understand, and boy, unless they are dancing, and dancing also like, dancing to a beat or a rhythm only, but not just, So I think, yes, that's a big problem, and tried to fix it a few times. I mean, and I'm not, I should not be standing outside the circle and saying that. I think I'm included myself in that.
Also for myself, being a dancer, when I'm acting, sometimes even I feel a bit, stuck with the way I use my body. So we're all in that.
I mean, so with different, again, projects, I mean, I feel that, the kind of process that one follows before you really go and stand in front of the camera. I have insisted a lot on understanding body, understanding movement, and then trying to just, again, I feel that, like I was recalling that it actually, puts you in a very strange, frozen kind of state when you're not confident about your body and you're put in front of the camera. You feel vulnerable also. So, so that overall protective instinct or that self-defense instinct, it takes over. People would keep their shoulders a certain way or keep their back a certain way, keep their neck a certain way. And now, and actors, I don't know, sometimes I really wish that they would not know too much about the technical bits. I just want them to be, like naive and unaware of, say, the good angles and the good side and, how not to face the camera a certain way. I have worked with actors who I know that, they think that their frontal angle is not great. So no matter what, they would tactfully just, not ever face the camera. Even if you put it right in front of them, they would somehow, find a way to not face it. I just look, so I'm just saying, so again, I know that, that works for people. But I think here, again, because we have not trained actors properly, we do not, I don't know, I mean, again, and I might sound too bookish, but, like just being on stage, for example, I think should be so mandatory for actors, because it gives you the sense of, I don't know, theatre, as opposed to, a common notion that you would be most vulnerable because you're facing a live audience. I don't know, I feel most safe and protected and like, in my element on stage. Even if I don't care how many thousands of people are sitting out there, but the camera puts me in an odd state of mind. So I think it should have been mandatory for people to, and stage helps you because there you have to use your entire body. Absolutely. It can't be just the throw of your voice, and then your face is perhaps the least visible part of you on stage. So that is what helps you understand what your body is capable of doing. And so people do not come, and by that I mean, say, a big majority. There are exceptions, of course. There's some fantastic actors. By fantastic, I mean people who use other dynamics of their craft and not just, say, facial expressions. And then I think that training should have been there, which wasn't there. And then somehow changing the set norms that, what looks good on camera and what doesn't. Everybody wants to be like me, wants to be skinny, or like, wants to be not, not have those extra pounds on the body. And so I don't know. I think it comes with that too. That is why, we eventually, there's a I remember getting like scolded for it by a PTV director. I'm very fond of him. But he said to me, बुरे एक्टर की पहली निशानी, नए एक्टर की पहली निशानी, वो हाथ जेबों में डालता है. And since then, because he said, why would you put your hands in your pocket? You're talking to your mom. Who puts their hands in their pockets when they do? So I realized that I was so untrained and I was so underconfident that, that's, you want to just be safe and you want to try your body out. So since then, I think, and that is such a litmus thing that whenever, I'm auditioning people or, my first thing is, okay, relax, breathe out. And they said, but how did you figure out? Because we learned the lines, we knew the lines, and clearly their expression of, I was like, your hands, you were not using them, or, they had frozen or they had slipped into your pockets and, that kind of thing. But so, and I think now things will have to change because with, say, the same actors now having to work for cinema or for the bigger screen, now they've started understanding that, because for me, I mean, and people can disagree, but cinema is so much more unforgiving. And that's where, again, the rule of the thumb would be that, everything can't be shot in a close-up like TV. That is where you have to move. Another thing that, with actors, for example, my personal experience being, like a lot of our actors are not even trained in, say, delivering dialogues while doing things. Like, they would actually break it. Like they will say, for example, if I have to take a sip of my chai, coffee, whatever, like, so they will do that as a separate unit of action. Finish that off, then resume the dialogue. So, so I think that's, again, that only is training, because they don't, they're not confident about eating on camera. They're not confident about scratching themselves on camera.
It's all about being human, and being human is these little things. Like if you just had a sip of your coffee and you just started talking to me, there will be that sound, and that's completely natural, if you did that. And so I think it's because we've all been put in boxes and we have to be a certain way.
And I think this unnecessary airbrushing of the thing, which thankfully is going out of fashion slowly.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Or just looking perfect, just having the perfect hair, and not just I'd say women, men also.
Men also,
perfectly gelled hair and the right kind of the shirt and the perfect ironing and all of that.
Ironed, exactly.
Right. So
never happens in a real life.
So I think collectively we have somehow set that standard. Actors would feel very underconfident about, say, wearing an unironed outfit. They would, and you're like, but you're playing a character which perhaps should not be wearing iron clothes. But it's not just them. Your cinematographer would be like, इनके कपड़े ठीक नहीं लग रहे, ये तो इनके character में शायद ऐसा जरूरत नहीं है. But then, so I don't know. So our instincts are developed that way. That, all of us feel, I don't know, for example, shalwar kameez. I find it to be a very tricky outfit, because shalwar kameez is tricky because it comes with all the notions that we associate with that, right? Funny thing, and I remember you depicting that in the opening sequence of Manto. Muhammad Hanif has written something really nice. He said that, why did Kali Shalwar offend people so much? Because it is definitely not one of his most, say, graphic stories. This is just the mention of the word Shalwar, because when you hear Shalwar, it comes with this, I don't know, like this world of whatever our associations are. Shalwar kameez, for example, whenever I've shot women, and I'm not talking about, say, a certain age only, just women in general. And every time I shoot a female actor lying down and she's wearing a shalwar kameez, I would not be sure, because if she was wearing a top and a pair of jeans, I won't care, because that your body contours would show or they would look a certain way. But the moment the kameez is a little here and there, or the moment you see a little more detail of the waistband on the shalwar, it kind of offends you,
That's so true.
There's something odd about it.
I was
shooting a scene with Saba work for the last project that is still under production, Kamli, and there's a really intense and a brilliant scene in which she's sort of crouching on the floor, and I was so absorbed by her performance that I did not even cover it from different angles. Like I was like, done, we're good to go. Like it was so brilliant. And so when we were just reviewing it for technical, I was like, oh, but her shalwar. Like, and everybody was like, what do you mean shalwar? They're like, yeah, her shalwar is there because she's wearing one. I was like, no, I don't know. Like, because she was crouching on the floor. So somehow the shalwar became so prominent for me that, like while the take was rolling, I didn't care what she was wearing. But suddenly when she crouched on the floor, it somehow, I don't know. I did reshoot it. I was like, no, I need to fix that in my head. Because I was really like, what if she was wearing a pair of jeans? I won't care about it. Because, that's what. So, I don't know. I think it's really strange. And, but yeah.
Now that you mentioned Manto, I also wanted to ask about this. In Manto, I think at least two pieces were very daring. One was Mahira's, where she's a monkey, and that entire movement she had to do with her body. And then one was with me and Vajdan, which I'm glad that I trusted you for. But such baat hai, initially I couldn't understand what you wanted from us either. But because you had told us that just trust me, I promise it won't be bigger. So how did you come up with those things, and why did you choose the bodies and like movement in those pieces and not really words and anything like that? And tell me a little about that, both those pieces.
Again, so I'll be honest, I sometimes indulge myself too much by just analyzing things with friends or in a classroom, but I really hate doing that. I think artists should not do that to their own work. They should not know why they're doing something. It should just come out naturally, organically. But again, if I can recall, I think I was very conscious about one thing, that there is an essence to whatever Manto wrote, right? And I'm not talking about, say, there is history, there's politics, there is a very, strongly opinionated commentary on morality, and all of that is there, right? And these characters are extremely real and scary sometimes, and they're too real. But, for example, there's a Nafsana, if I'm not getting it wrong, it's called Boo. And it basically depicts like the one of the scenes, or the opening scene, is where this man looks at a woman who is standing under a tree, and it's pouring and she's wet, and of course whatever description he gives, and then he brings her up to his apartment, and whatever happens between them. But the first description of her body that he gives is about her armpit, right? Now, for me, and again, I could be wrong, and art is open to interpretation. For me, I was like, it took me several years or whatever to arrive at the opinion that I have, or the understanding that I have. I was like, what is he trying to do by, talking about something which is, say, almost, it makes you uncomfortable, and you're like, why are we even talking about that detail here, right? So, but I think he wants us to get normal about everybody has a body, everybody has those kinds of the same body parts. So by just talking about them, by just mentioning them in such a like a cursory way, or in like a way that he would drop that word and move on, like we don't even go back to the armpit later. Of course it has references to body odor and things, and so that's what I felt, that for me, interpreting Manto on screen, I knew that the body needs to be addressed in a way that we do not address it on TV, and with that, I think, again, both the pieces are completely my interpretations. A lot of literary critics actually went on to say that, why did you have to reinterpret fiction? I was like, I don't know, like, that's a liberty. I was like, because I'm not saying that it's just based on that. I'm saying that I picked something and then I turned it into an audiovisual thing. He wrote, and I turned it into pictures and sounds, right? So for me, I think the way he and for a lot of people it looks like, oh, he's disrespecting the human body, and particularly when he talks about the female body, he's talking about it sometimes, with elaborate details which are not always nice. But for me, I think my understanding is that he's actually humanizing the body so much. He's just making it sound or read so normal to you that you just need to get over that. You cannot, it cannot. I mean, that is not where the conflict should be. The conflict should be about what you do or your behavior or actions, but just the physicality. So I think for me, the physicality was very important in the interpretation of those two pieces, and I think to some degree of Thanda Gosht also, with Yasir and Shamoon. So that's how I felt, and to be honest, I think Mahira's piece did not really make it to the big cut of the film. It was like a very shoddy little montage. It was a much longer piece, because that essay is very interesting, where he talks about a Darwinian take on evolution, where these monkeys have this conversation between them, and how they are offended by the idea that why are the human beings saying that we are the primitives, and so or whatever, that they do primitive stuff, and we are actually told that we were the origins, and they are disagreeing with that. So I think with Mahira, for example, I might not sound like a good person right now, but I really wanted her to feel uncomfortable and out of her kind of comfort zone, because again, by that time Mahira had really become like, say, the nation's sweetheart, and Mahira had always done like this really proper,
pretty and
just the right girl, right, by those standards, that she's always right, she looks great, but so I think that almost was, I think, the inside joke was that was almost a punishment for her. Because again, the backstory is, I would not give more details. She was supposed to play another character in the series, and then she was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't. And I think it was just, say, a lot of people when they give you opinions on things. So I think she was just affected by the opinions, and they were quite stereotypical. So I think I was like, now I'm going to punish you, and you will have to play a monkey for me. And so for her to explore, but again, I think that is where I also, it reaffirmed my conviction in, say, an actor's honesty and her talent. I mean, Mahira is not essentially, say, physically the strongest person to come across as an actor. Right? So she had to hang with monkey bars, she had to crawl, she had to do a lot of things. And I think, again, Mahira, I mean, as great as she is, but she's not trained in theatre, for example. She has a great instinct of, acting and for dancing and things. So I think that was, we both had a lot of fun, and we were dealing with like real monkeys, and she just had to befriend them. And then, like, for example, I don't know, we don't see women squat on screen, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's why I loved it so much. I mean, I remember you showing this to me.
So again, I mean, and also it's not just about her. Just say, I do and my team. I mean, just a simple thing that she is squatting and eating an orange, and she's holding that orange here, and then she's really like squatting like a monkey. And I mean, not really squatting, but sitting in a way that
the monkeys do,
that, oh, now this female body is going to offend us because she's sitting in a way she's not supposed to sit.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, she did it with great ease. And with you and Vajdan, I don't know, I think I just seen bits and pieces of your earlier work, and there I just knew people who I wanted people who I knew that who could now change the whole, say, these offensive bits into a lyrical, like almost like a visual, symphony. Because again, without giving over explaining it, that little piece references a lot of titles of Manto's stories, right? It references Hatta, it references Kholdo, it references, again, if you remember, there is a shot of I think it's Vajdan, like, the armpits and everything. So it's a very,
the hairy chest and everything.
right.
That
Because again, but that is, I think, what made it so easy for the censors and the people to just sit through, because I think it just confused them, because it looked lyrical and dance-like, and it did not come with a commentary in the background. You didn't know what was happening. So there, I think that was, again, I just taking a lot of creative liberty with Manto Saab, because that's where I thought, okay, no, now I'm going to say stylize all of that. So I think that was a very stylized interpretation of just some titles of his.
Wow. That's amazing that you actually let yourself just be very creative in those pieces. And for the monkey piece, I was thinking, after many, many years of dancing, I started to explore being animalistic through your body, connecting with the creature inside you. And I thought, wow, Sarmad did this back then. I was still young at that time, and I was still thinking, I was still more about looking, again, also with the dance world, it's all about, now sort of it's become a lot about looking good and being proper, and so I was still in that. And I was like, wow, Sarmad did that. And I remember that you showed us a little bit of it, when we were in that studio. And I think actually, I remembered a lot part of it. Instead of being able to watch it.
Intercutting your bit with that bit for the opening titles. But then somehow I think they were treated so differently in the later cuts. I thought, no. So it comes as yours in which dance part comes in the beginning of the film, and Myra's comes in the end.
So as an actor, as a director, going through all these characters, understanding their physicality, because you say you get to be free in those moments, have you somehow discovered over these years something about yourself through your characters, through the way you depict them, or through the characters that your actors play, something that you felt attached to and you've somehow learned something about, discovered something about yourself, you as a person, through their physicality, or even just being them, because of course when you're a character, you really become that person for that time and believe in that, in the truth of it. So has that ever, or maybe have you kept a part of it with you, or
it would be too sad if it doesn't, right? I mean, in an ideal world, I mean, that's what one would like to believe, that if you have invested your emotion, your energy, your mental faculty into something, and then your physical body and your skill into it, it should. I mean, it would be, I don't know, it would be such a tragedy if it doesn't give you something. If you're, I mean, it's almost like an exchange, right? That's why I feel that actors, prior to anything else, need to be great observers, and then they need to have a lot of empathy, and not just say from the point of view of being, say, a good person or a bad person. No, but just empathy in terms of understanding or having that capacity to understand another human being, and with flaws, with their weaknesses, with their complexes, because it's not that one would always be playing a hero or like a great savior or a great human being. You can play all sorts of characters. So I'll be honest, I think first I would like to talk about it as a director. Again, it's not something that, I knew it since ever and I've always applied it. I think over the years I understood that a big part of directing an actor is not about teaching them the technicalities. It is not about making them understand, say, how you're going to edit it or what the subtext is, all of that. That again, there is a phase when you make them understand technical and whatever, other bits about it. But when you're actually doing it, when you are actually executing it, for me, it boils down to, say, just sinking your energy with them. it's about understanding them. There are times when, honestly, I would say okay to a lukewarm take by the rest of the crew standards, but just because the rhythm or the synchronicity that I have with an actor, I would know that it's not about his or her potential, but in this given circumstance at the moment, I think that's the best that we could do. I regret it sometimes, but so for me, it's more about how they are emotionally present at that particular point in time, how they are behaving with the other actor, and all of that. So for me, I think it's about understanding their rhythm. And for example, I hate when my crew looks at me when I'm observing performance on a monitor, because in order to somehow keep myself in sync with the rhythm of an actor, I do sometimes internally, and a lot of times just physically also, I'm like mirroring them, or like, I don't know, just trying to sort of just try developing an instinct with them about it. And that is why, again, I don't know if it's a great quality or a bad quality. Like, I'm able to tell actors, just that line, you lost the rhythm. And they're like, but how do you know? I was like, that's my job. I need to know on the monitor. But like, sometimes it's just about, so how when you think of rhythm, what is it? It just say it's almost like breathing. So when the breathing went erratic, or when somebody did not breathe for those couple of seconds and they stop, it's almost like exercising, right? And that if that erraticness was not needed, then it just felt wrong. So for me, I think as a director, yes. So if you're connecting with actors or whatever they're portraying like that, it clearly leaves if not a lot, at least something with you. And I'll be honest, because the nature of the job is such that then you have to move on to another project. So it might not stay with you like your most prized memory forever, but then it keeps coming back. And there are times when, you would, and that is why I feel that, it's completely fair for directors to have favorite actors, because, you've made a rapport where, and their body language or their understanding of the craft, or I mean, for example, I don't know, I love a lot of actors, but just naming one right now, that's Sanya Said. I think with her, the biggest joy always is that, not only because we've worked a lot together, but I know that, she gives something to her characters which is completely like unusual and very generous. But with her, like, she would just look at me and she'd be like, you're behaving like me, you're using the same body language that I'm using for the character, because I'm with that kind of, say, I don't know, admiration and I don't know, awe also, but then just the connection is there. As a co-actor, I think with Nimra Bucha, for example, like, I'm most comfortable with her on stage and on screen also. So with her too, I think it is. So sometimes it's not about your character; it's just about what they are playing too. So again, when you said that, how it gives you something or not, or if it should not, but I also feel that sometimes we are just too hard on ourselves about just getting into a character, and we never work to get out of it. And I did not understand it before, because perhaps I'd never invested that much emotion.
Okay.
So I think as an actor, sometimes we also feel this undue pressure to just say all our efforts and all our energies going into how to become that character, or how to get into the character, but we never work on getting out of it. And I guess, as an actor, I perhaps have not invested that much emotionally in many characters, that I never struggled with that. Theatre does that to me, and over the years it has become worse. I think there are at least 2 projects in the past few years which affected me so much, like, and not in the right ways. Like, like I would be, like, and one of them was not even like, say, an intense, heavy character. It was a happy, funny character. But I think it just depressed me that the world of that character and say those performances or whatever months we had spent on rehearsing for it, I was like, where did he go? Where did Zaman go? Like, I just wanted Zaman back. And I don't know, I think just that, again, that make-believe is not just for the audience. I think there comes a point, particularly on stage, because you cannot break out of it for those extended hours, when you're there. So I think for TV and camera, it's still perhaps easier because, with the retakes, you keep snapping out of it. Yeah. There are, all sorts of odd schedules of shooting, and then, but theater, I think, essentially requires you to. So and then I started reading up on that, and I found out that, there are, like, in big acting schools, people have counselors who help actors kind of, actually shed that character off. Because you can't be, you can't be so many people.
Of course, yeah.
And then I think the most sort of dramatic was the 24 hours non-stop performance, because again, just that awareness that you are in front of live cameras. Also, there's a live interview. It is being streamed live, and so all of that pressure is there. So clearly, as an actor, or as, say, like, just the skill part of it, you want to be on your toes and you want to give it your best. But I think a couple of hours into the performance, I knew there was no escape. And even if I wasn't that character, I was not myself. I was in an emotional state that I did not know I could be in. I felt vulnerable, I felt caged, I felt anxious, I had anxiety that, there was a clock and I could just, look at it. It was not a part of the set, but, it was in my highlight. And every time I would look at it, and I would be like, there's still 22 hours to go, and now 20 hours to go. So I think just that physical strain of it, somehow it took me to places that I wasn't ready for. And those places were not essentially, say, a part of the character's world. It was just me, because sometimes the effort was to just stay awake. Sometimes the effort was, okay, now I have to do everything on camera. I have to use the toilet on camera, and, just that anxiety in my body that, sure, they're going to draw a curtain in front of the live audience, but the camera crew is there. And, so it was just a mix of weird things going on.
Wow.
And particularly, as an actor, what scarred me for a few weeks, at least after that. So there was a scene in which, towards the end, the character, Zaman, Z, he's bathing, and I had to bathe in front of the crew and all that. And we rehearsed it, and I would rehearse it with, and we rehearsed it over weeks and things. But in the rehearsal, somehow it just didn't occur to me that, perhaps I should have at least tried it once, like, going all commando on camera. All the rehearsals were when I would strip down to my boxers. That was it. But I think that was the first time, in my whole life, and I remember, like, freezing in a way that, I didn't know when I was. I just lost all sorts of bearings about, the geography of the place, about time, because again, I don't know if it's just a bodily thing, but that's not how we are trained. Here particularly, we're just not trained to do those kind of scenes, and I did not prepare enough for it. And later on, people, they were kind enough to review it in a way, but the moment you froze, when you're about to bathe, and how we were with him and we froze. I was like, I didn't freeze as the character, I froze as the person, because I didn't know what to do. So I took my clothes off, and then I'm standing there and I'm frozen because I just didn't know. It was a complete blackout. So again, that experience, the physical whatever aspects of it, but the character, of course, I had to read so much on death row and the not just the laws, but like harrowing accounts of people. And there were some parts of the research and the preparation which were very sort of, they were quite, like intense. And a bunch of, like, all sorts of people for that. That didn't leave me for a while. It did. And it stayed with me in all the wrong ways, like stuff that seeped into nightmares and stuff that, and I'm like, I would like to believe, sure, I have some regular neurotic problems, anxiety and things going on, which all of us have, and situational also. They're not like, say, they do not define your entire day. But so for example, I am a little claustrophobic, but over the years I've become better. Now I can get into a lift and take a lift, and I can sit in a plane for long hours, which I couldn't do earlier. Like, because of that bathing scene, trust me, I could not stand into the shower for a few days at least. I didn't know, because and it was not, again, and I kept telling myself, that's too dramatic. I mean, I'm not going to allow myself to be affected like that, but it was totally like, that's when I really felt that, I don't know if it's an age thing, in the sense that, when you're young and careless, carefree, perhaps, you don't care, but I was like, oh, I should be careful about these things now. I mean, what if this gets stuck and it won't leave me? But gladly, for that, I had grown a long beard, and that helped. The moment I shaved that off, it was almost like, and I had that dramatic moment of looking at all that, the mop that I had, shaved off my face. I just looked at it, you're gone. That's gone. But so I don't know. It's not always a lesson, I think, but it's something. It's a memory which affects you. Clearly.
It just becomes part of your life.
So I think it's just like, I don't know, just like an episode that you would have, say, in any relationship with your family and friends. So with characters also, and again, I'll be honest, it's not always that you connect or you give so much to a character and the character gives it back.
Sometimes you don't.
It's like a very mechanical thing, and
absolutely,
but then there comes a point, I think, that is what solidifies the importance of something in your mind, that if you've given it enough, it does give something. It does give something.
In some way,
and when if it stays with you, you clearly have made a bond with it. And some of the characters, like I don't know, whatever my interpretation of manto was, I think just wearing that white kurta pajama day in and night out, like for those months, manto also, like, it haunted me. It kind of bothered me. And I think after that, I consciously, I stopped reading him for a while. I didn't want to know any more about him. And again, now when I recall, it's not that my love for him has lessened, but
you just lived with him so intensely.
And it's also not, and I think it's not even, and just that connection is not even about your skill. Not about your skill. It's like, sometimes, as I said, for the 24 hours performance, there was just a few hours literally, and it was not in my control, because I knew that I would not be able to get out of here until the clock goes back to 12 the next night. And just that idea, I think that I just didn't have any control over it. And even if I wanted to keep myself unaffected, there was no way I could be unaffected by it.
There was no way. That's true. So my last question from you is, do you ever find yourself dancing, in a silly way, in a goofy way, just not caring about being in the rhythm, just letting yourself go? I
used to do that much more often. I would do that on a very regular basis, but of late, I don't know. I don't know. I love, as I said, movement. I love dancing. I wish I was better at it. I wish I had training, and I wish, I could explore more there. But I love dancing, and I think that too I embraced with that theatre play that I did, Jhanjhar.
Jhanjhar, yes, I was thinking.
So I was like, I don't care. I don't care. Like, I just need to just, do it on stage, and I'll do it, and whatever antics are a part of the thing, we'll put them in. But, that also I think was very liberating in that sense that, that was also a performance where after, I mean, the first 30 seconds of the dance number would again freeze me a little. But after those 25-30 seconds, I did not give a hoot about what would anyone say or how are they going to receive it or what are they going to think about it. So I think the only day I got very underconfident was when my choreographer was sitting in the audience, and I wish I had spotted him because again, he designed it a certain way. He's a great teacher. He's a great teacher. He was Atif Ayub Abbasi. So Atif designed it. He trained me, and I think we rehearsed for a good 2 months for that. But particularly that day, I think I just had a blackout, and I didn't do any of the bits that he had taught me, and I just did something random. And he was mortified looking at me. He's like, "Ye kya tha?" I swear I did that. I did the same thing yesterday, like what you taught me. I promise I'll do it again. And I think I really like the idea of just using your body like
just letting go.
Be. I love dancing, and I think that I can recall that I used to love doing that since I was a very little human being. I always loved dancing. I would be the first to to get up on a shadi or just sometimes hold it for it also. And I wish I had done more of that on screen though. Like that's something that so I'm a huge fan of song and dance, by the way, like that genre of cinema also. I love listening to music. I can dance, like I had a dance with some real like abandon, and sometimes with confidence that a lot of people are like, we wish that you're not that great at it, but you are just doing it.
I think that's the beauty of it, because there is no good and bad dancer. I think we all are made to move, we all are made to dance at the end of the day. And I think the fact that you are confident and you just do it, I think that helps you become even closer to your body in many ways, which you don't even know of, because it's not in your face, it just happens unconsciously. Thank you for sharing everything that you shared, and for your honesty, about being vulnerable, about all these things. I think we all have those, and whether we're actors, whether we're just human beings, we all do have characters inside us,
We do.
Inside us, So thank you.
Thank you, Sai. Lovely. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you for listening to the podcast When We Move. Stay updated for more interesting conversations coming up with a different guest every Friday. To watch or hear previous episodes, click on the link given in the description. Stay safe and keep moving.